All right, let's jump right in. We're going to be exploring a really interesting text today. It's called Dini Dawat Ka Quranic Usul, which basically means the Quranic Principles of Invitation. So yeah, it's all about how you share what you believe, drawing from principles found in the Quran.
And really, this book gets to the heart of a question that I think we've all struggled with at some point, right? When you have this deeply held belief, something that's super important to you, how do you even begin to share that with someone else? Are you just trying to win a debate, or is there something, bigger going on?
So, the key idea we need to get our heads around is this concept of dawah. Now, the word itself just means invitation. And yeah, in this case, it's coming from an Islamic context, but you can think of it in a much broader way. It's really about the art of inviting someone to see your point of view, to understand your way of life. It's less of a command and more of an open door.
And this is where it gets really interesting. The book argues that this whole Quranic idea of dawah is, well, it's a lot more subtle than you might think. It's definitely not about just getting up on a soapbox and shouting your beliefs at people. No, it's something way deeper than that.
One of the biggest points the author makes is that this isn't just a single event, like giving a speech. It's a whole process. It's wrapped up in your entire character, how you act, how you treat other people. The idea is that your life, your actions, that's the real invitation.
Okay, so that sounds great in theory, but how does it actually work? Well, the book lays out this really clear framework. It suggests that any really effective invitation, any real connection, is built on 4 essential pillars.
Just 4. Let's take a look at what they are.
So these pillars basically cover the whole shebang. First up, you've got the inviter. That's you. Then there's the invited, the person or people you're talking with. Third is the message, the actual what. What are you trying to share? And last but definitely not least is the method, the how. And the book's point is, you can't just focus on one and ignore the others. They all have to work together if you want to make a real, genuine connection.
But now, we're going to zoom in on that 4th pillar, the method, because this is where the author makes a pretty bold claim. They say that the entire strategy, the whole playbook for how you're supposed to invite someone, is laid out perfectly in just one single verse from the Quran.
That's right, one verse. It's like the ultimate cheat sheet for meaningful communication.
And here it is. Invite to the way of your Lord with wisdom and good instruction and argue with them in a way that is best. Just let that sink in for a second. That one sentence is pretty much the foundation for this entire approach to communication.
All right, so let's break that down because there's a lot packed in there. We've got wisdom, good instruction, and arguing in the best way. What does that actually look like when you're talking to someone?
So the verse gives us this kind of 3-step game plan. First, you start with hikmah. That's wisdom. Next, you use mawiza hasana, which you can think of as kind, good advice. And then only if you absolutely have to debate, you do it with jidal ahsan, which means doing it in the absolute best, most respectful way possible.
Wisdom here is so much more than just being a walking encyclopedia. The book really hammers home that it's about emotional intelligence. It's about reading the room, right? Knowing when to say something and what to say. For example, true wisdom is realizing that bringing up a super heavy topic with a friend who just lost their job is probably not the move. It's about meeting people where they are, not just blasting them with what you want to say. And then you have good counsel. This isn't about just telling people what to do. It's all in the delivery. It's about being gentle, being compassionate. Think about it. It's the huge difference between barking, "You're wrong," and saying something like, "Hey, I was thinking about this, and I wonder if there's another way to look at it." The whole point is to connect on a human level, to reach the heart, not just beat them over the head with logic.
And this brings us to a really important point, a major misconception that the author really wants to clear up. There's a whole part of the book dedicated to this, so it's a big deal.
A lot of folks hear dawah and they immediately think of forceful preaching, something called tabligh. But the book argues that's a huge misunderstanding. The model we're talking about here isn't about lecturing someone into submission. It's not a numbers game. It's about a gentle, wise invitation that you show people through your own actions and character, long before you ever say a word.
So if you boil it all down, the big takeaway from this book is pretty clear. A real invitation, whether it's about faith, an idea, anything, it has to come from a place of wisdom and compassion. It's got to be a pull, not a push. Simple as that.
Which kind of leaves us with one final thought, doesn't it? If we take these core ideas, wisdom, kindness, and respectful conversation, and apply them to our own lives, outside of any specific religious context, just in our day-to-day chats with friends, family, coworkers, how much could that change things? What would our conversations look like then?